Hello, everybody.
Hey.
And welcome to...
Fantasy Top 5.
That's it. That's the name.
That's us.
That's our podcast. I'm Eric,
I'm Sean.
and we got Lane over here. Did you watch football today, Sean?
I didn't watch football today.
Did
I
you watch
actually didn't.
Football Sunday, Sean?
I did, and it was incredible.
It was. It was quite the... Yeah, we'll watch football later today, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an incredible...
I love the enthusiasm, though. You're like, hey, guys, you can watch football today? You guys?
There wasn't off today.
You were really excited about it. I liked it.
I was. Yeah, I mean, just lots of crazy... This year in general has just been a very rookie year.
Yeah, insanely rookie-based year. And this week was possibly one of the better weeks for the rookies.
I think it was, yes. There was definitely... If anybody watched football, I think they definitely know what we're talking about. With Andrew Luck, Doug Martin, and
Russell Wilson.
I think it all comes...
And RG3 was a rookie.
Yeah, he did look like a rookie this year with this...
No, he looked like a veteran, and the rest of his team, especially his offensive line, looked like rookies. He was getting lit up every single play.
Yeah,
like,
he
it
looked
was
sad.
hard to watch for that guy. Like, he just blindsided constantly.
Yeah, he looked quite sad. But I think the crazy thing about this is not only has it been a rookie year for all of the NFL players, but it's been a rookie year for us as well.
Indeed, it has.
If anyone doesn't know, this is our first year doing this podcast. I know it seems like we've been doing it
we
for
seem like
years.
seasoned veterans.
We really do, but we haven't. And the nice thing about that is we've apparently broken a lot of records ourselves.
Yeah, and we've
along with all these other records.
we're on our way to getting nominated for the Rookie of the Year award in podcasting.
I think we are. It looks like we could get it.
Yeah, and I've actually I broke the record for most awkward pauses in any given season of podcasting. And I think, and the thing is the good thing about that is we're barely halfway through, and so I got the opportunity to go way beyond that and just. Oh, I forgot. I don't remember what I was saying, but yeah.
I feel like that doesn't make us seem like seasoned veterans, but. And maybe this one doesn't either. Apparently, the one that I broke was apparently in the first 18 episodes of any podcast, there's never been more love for Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
I broke that one. Which
Peyton Manning's
weird.
been around for a while, so you would assume that wouldn't be easy to break.
You would assume there would be podcasts that I don't know. I don't think I love him that much. I think I love him a very normal amount.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know. That tattoo, the PM18 that is on the small of your back.
Yeah, which I haven't showed everyone that one. And
you really should. You should tweet it out.
It's my own personal.
You would show Peyton though if you met him, right?
I would. I would definitely show him. And apparently, we're also the cutest guys to ever start 19 podcast.
Which
that
right makes sense because I don't know if you've seen a lot of guys in podcasting. There's a reason we're some of the few that go with video.
It's true.
It's because we're not afraid to show it.
I was doing some looks like this earlier.
Yeah, the sexy
the
eyes.
Some love.
Yeah, indeed.
Lane did some close-ups on the pre-show. It was quite intense.
It was hot. If you didn't get here early to see that, you missed out.
Yeah, it might never happen again.
Yeah, we're also we haven't quite beat the record because there's some pretty intense podcasts out there, but we are in the running for most homoerotic comments ever in any given podcasting season.
The Peyton Manning stuff right there, I think, just put it over the edge.
Yeah.
I think that was it. I think we'll have to check the books. We'll have to check and just make sure, but I think those few comments right there, I think the tattoo definitely pushed it over the edge.
Yeah, but if not, we at least are in the running for usage of the word stud.
Yes.
Cute.
Which I said earlier, cute.
He's an attractive guy. That's actually, I think, our main phrase. So, Dami Amendola's face is something we use a lot. So, yeah,
she's going to be back next week.
It is what it is.
Excited. I'm so excited to have him back.
So excited you just can't hide it.
Oh, my gosh. All right. So, we're Fantasy Top 5. We do a fantasy podcast here. Like we just talked about, we do it live on Justin TV an hour before the Monday and Thursday night game. So, if you're listening to this, come check us out. We also have our podcast in iTunes, Stitcher, and most podcast apps, and on our website at fantasytop5.com. You can go on there and listen to we usually post it about an hour, half an hour to an hour after we do the show.
Yeah.
And we have a good time with it. We're
Yeah,
on
really
Twitter.
do.
You can tweet at us at FantasyTop5, ask us questions, find us on Facebook, and everything else. It's FantasyTop5, F-I-V-E spelled out. And here we are. We always start every podcast with our Newses and Bruises, which is our top 5 news stories and our top 5 injury reports of the week. And the number one, like we talked about, is all of the crazy rookies this year and how good they've been doing.
And there's been a lot, like we were saying.
Yeah, the main one I think that everyone, which is weird because both of these could be considered the main one, is Doug Martin sets the record for being the first player in NFL history to have 3 40-plus yard rushing touchdowns in a game.
Which is insane.
Yeah, and he was really close to breaking the actual rushing record set by Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, he's
but-
about 40 yards short.
Yeah, but still, incredible game. I
Yeah.
did tell people to start him, and I almost felt like it was a kind of an easy play, but I did not
Yeah.
realize how.
Especially after the
How
game he
good.
had two weeks ago, too. Like, he just insane.
Yeah, but I mean that's why I mentioned it there, is because I knew he would have this kind of a game. You know, I mean,
You
if I
predicted the
hadn't
50
known-
points.
Yeah, if I hadn't known he was going to have this kind of a game, I mean, it was kind of an obvious pick, but that's why I put him in my starts, and that's why everyone should listen to us, because we
know things.
what we're talking about. Number 2 is Andrew Luck, which easily could have been the number 1. He sets a single game rookie record for passing yards with 433, and just looks incredible.
Yeah, and he looked amazing out there. Like, and
They-
he tore up not the best defense in the league, but I think people at least expected the Dolphins to put up a fight against him, and
Yeah.
and he just went wherever he wanted to go the whole day.
Yeah, he threw all over him. And, yeah, everyone is talking about how angry they are at the Colts, because it's like, really? You get one bad season, now you get this?
Yeah, really.
And people like Sean and I, with the Rams and the Raiders, have to sit there and suffer.
For years and years and years
At
and
least
years.
Lane, as a Buccaneers fan, has some stuff to look forward to. We don't. None of our players are in here. We should talk about them ourselves. Well, yours
Well,
are down
I
to
would
the
make it in the
injury.
injuries, yeah.
Yours are down to the injury report. And we talked about Amendola a little bit earlier. But,
Yeah.
and then, RG3 should break all of Cam Newton's rookie touchdown and rushing yard records if he keeps going the way he didn't look that great yesterday. And then, like we talked about, Russell Wilson, Tannehill, the list goes on. There's a lot of rookies that
Yeah,
are.
almost all rookies have done, because Whedon hasn't been shabby really either. Like, and it's just crazy to me that all these guys have been able to come in and just own it like they have for rookies. And I don't know, I don't think there's a big name receiver that's done all that great at rookie so far. Like, Gordon's a rookie, but he hasn't been consistent.
Yeah, he hasn't.
And but the running backs, like we said, Doug Martin's been insane. And the rookies, it's crazy that it's basically just crazy they can come out and just fit into the NFL like they have. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, it is quite crazy. And number 2, kind of continuing on with this, is we'll continue on with the Luck, Love, and the Colts. And it's a question I want to ask, because you've mentioned it before, Sean, but is Luck the second coming of Peyton Manning? Because I feel like he is.
Well, I was really young when Peyton Manning came into the league, so I don't remember
I was
if Peyton Manning just recently forgot how to run with the ball at all. But
Yeah, I don't
other
think
than
he's
that,
ever
that's the
been.
only aspect of the game that Luck will burn you. If you just try to cover his receivers, he'll get out of the pocket and he can make a play with his legs. And don't get me wrong, I think that's kind of something that I think 5 years from now, maybe even sooner, you will have to be able to move around in the pocket to make it in the league. Like, it's just not nowadays. If you look at it, even like Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the best passers in the league, still runs it like crazy, and almost all the good quarterbacks are able to get out of the pocket.
Mhm.
So I think that's just something you need now, and you didn't necessarily need it when Peyton Manning came in. But yeah, I really do think that the Colts managed to have a guy for 16 years. How long was he there? 14, 16 years, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And then he
How many was it?
I think, I don't know, but it was
Somewhere in the teens.
as soon as he leaves, they had that one bad season, like awful season, but it worked out that awful season led to them getting Luck, and Luck, he's just awesome
You said
out
he
there.
can run, which is crazy as well. Like, that's.
Because I don't think anyone was talking about
Yeah,
that
no one-
before he came in.
They're talking about it with RG3, but not him. But so here's some crazy stats really quick that I thought were really cool. So first off, both the Colts and the Broncos are 5-3,
Uh-huh.
which is crazy. Secondly, both and this is the weirdest stat, is both Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning have both passed for exactly 2,404 yards this season.
Don't. I'm gonna look it up. I feel like you're making that up at this
I'm
point.
not.
Like
And number 3, if the season ended today, the Broncos would host the Colts in the wild card game.
and that would actually, that would be awesome.
Insane. I can't even wrap my mind around it.
But that's the thing is, if you think
Look
about
it up and make sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I might
check.
have made that up.
You can keep going with your next one, I'll look it up and we'll see.
But crazy, yeah. And you watch him. He steps back the exact same. Just the way that he plays, it looks the same. And so it'll be really nice when Peyton Manning retires because all that love.
Yeah, they
can
both have the
just-
same amount of yards.
Isn't it crazy?
That is. It's insane that
It's
just because
the NFL works.
it's insane really
mysterious ways.
in both senses because Luck is he's a rookie and there's no reason he should be playing as good as he is really. Everyone thought it would take him at least a year to get into that system and get it going. And then also it's crazy in the sense that everyone was questioning before the season, including myself, and I still question certain things about Peyton Manning, but the fact that he's able to bounce back and do as well as he's done, it's all around, it's been a pretty crazy season for not just those guys, but the whole NFL. Like, if you look at the teams that are doing well and the teams that people are high on, there's still the commons there, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of teams. I think this season is going to be the season that the Super Bowl is going to have two teams in it that haven't been in a while, I think.
Yeah, it should be pretty crazy. And I own both of them in the fantasy league, so that's a weird stat as well.
Got to plug yourself every time. It's always about Eric.
All right, we'll move on. We're taking a while with this. Number 3, the Falcons remain undefeated
Woo, move on.
at 8-0.
I'm just kidding.
And that's all I got for that one. Yeah, I don't know why. 'Cause
Everyone should care, and no one does. Like, oh yeah, you know who else was 8-0 at this time last season? The Packers. What happened to them?
oh, that's very
And
true.
also, gosh, I wanted to move past it, but I have to throw this in here. The Falcons have been great for more seasons now.
Yeah.
They're the NFC's Ravens.
It's
I
true.
want to see
2
them.
years ago, they finished first. I mean,
Yeah, I want to see them go out, and I want to see them do good in the playoffs. Like no one gives a
those
a
teams
shit
are so
really about them
similar
until
in my mind. I think
the
most people's minds, mainly because of the 2 quarterbacks
Birds.
coming out.
Birds.
They're both birds,
Yeah.
and both the quarterbacks were drafted in the same class. Both have been.
One of them's a really good quarterback, and one of them's a really overrated quarterback.
They've both been good, but not great. They
Yeah.
both went into teams that looked good and kept them looking good,
Yeah.
and they've both like done weird things with like winning games at home and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
they're just very similar teams, but
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, they're 8-0, which is cool. Number 4, which is kind of crazy. Not at first, I wasn't going to put it in here, but the NFL voids the multi-year contract that the Saints gave to Sean Payton, which is not that big of a deal, and I wasn't even going to put in here, but apparently is pretty relevant because now there's all these rumors about Jerry Jones and Peyton. I guess they're best friends. I guess Sean Payton has a home in Dallas. I heard Jerry Jones likes to win, and they
Yeah.
haven't.
And
And a
that's
coach that's pretty unproven. He just came in and hasn't really done a whole
And if
lot.
the-
He looked good at first,
yeah.
but this year so far hasn't.
And if the Cowboys don't make it, and they're not looking like they're going to make it, there's still half a season left, and they're
They've
not
only won
awful.
3
They've showed a
games.
lot of potential. But if they don't make it to the playoffs, I think Jerry Jones is a guy that is not afraid to throw money at
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And I think Peyton will be in there. And the thing is truthfully, that's the best thing for Romo, because I think Peyton, as much as I sound like a Romo apologist constantly, I'm not going to blame the Cowboys' issues on Tony Romo all the time.
No, it's not.
But I think a lot of it is a play calling. I think a lot of it is a lot of different things. But they finally have the defensive guy they want there. Because that's the thing is, you can say what you want about Rob Ryan, but he has changed that defense.
Yeah,
He's
he
got them
has.
to get the pieces in there. They have a solid defense. Like, look how the Falcons were able to win last night, but they've been tearing everyone apart, and they didn't tear Dallas apart.
Mhm.
So I think if Peyton was there next year, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
They better give him a lot of gum.
Or if Peyton was there and Drew Brees was there and Tony Romo was in New Orleans. I'm serious though. I could see that happening, like because
That would
Peyton
be-
loves him some Drew Brees.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, and that would immediately turn that team into Super Bowl pick.
It would be crazy.
Yeah,
But yeah, Sean Payton does love his gum, so Jerry Jones would have to give him
a lot of gum in that
Remember
contract.
that sound effects?
Yeah, where he was
Was it
pissed.
juicy fruit? He was pissed.
Yeah, because he got
my damn
what did
juicy
he get?
fruit.
He got something else instead of juicy fruit.
Yeah.
He spit it out.
So, this is not my juicy fruit. If anyone can find that, it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And my number 5 news story, which I always try to do something absolutely ridiculous, is Des Bryant stays out past midnight for his birthday, which is really crazy, and hangs out with 2 cats. Josh Howard of the Utah Jazz, who's no longer with the Utah Jazz. He's now a free agent, which is kind of crazy. I'm like, Josh Howard? And
kinda
Delonte
crazy.
West, who... That's a good role model right
Both-
there. Delonte West is...
Really, both are troublemakers to say the least.
Josh Howard's had problems
And
in
also,
the
the
past.
crazy thing about this is Des Bryant didn't hang out with them past midnight. He danced the
Went to a
night away
club, yeah.
with them until midnight on that bad hip that he was questionable for the game. And that's the thing is a lot of people, I think, were thinking he played in the game yesterday based on that. He's like, I can't miss the game after going dancing on Friday night, so I have to kind of play. But yeah, it's just Des Bryant has stayed out of trouble, and hopefully he still does. But it's just kind of
Delonte
interesting
West,
to
get new
see.
friends. Delonte West is a...
Psycho.
Yeah, he got dropped from the Mavs, and Josh Howard got dropped from the Jazz. 2 players that are no longer in the NBA. Josh Howard didn't have a lot of problems last year with the Jazz, but he wasn't extremely talented. He's had problems in the past, and Delonte West is just... He is one crazy dude.
Yeah, he is.
He's one... Oh, it's pulled up the gum thing. Where look it up. It's on YouTube. He spits it out. He's like, this is not my juicy fruit. Or spearmint or something. So we'll move on. The bruises, number 1 is definitely has to be Darren McFadden, like we talked about. All these injuries are all ankle sprains, just so everyone knows. That's really all that happened besides
You got to tape
RG3.
your ankles up, guys. Come on.
Get stronger ankles.
Everyone's just working their ankles out.
So Darren McFadden has a high ankle sprain. X-rays are negative, but he didn't return. It looks like he could miss time. Mike Goodson, his backup, also had an ankle sprain and also may miss time. So definitely keep an eye on it. You can't even go and get his backup. You can. There's also Taiwan Jones
Marcel Reese.
and Marcel Reese, which will both kind of...
That dude is, he's a fullback, but he's that special kind of fullback. Like he can come out of the back. Everyone saw it yesterday. He got a ton of points off of catching the ball out of the
Yeah.
backfield. I don't even think he had a real run. I think he had maybe 1 or 2 real runs out of the backfield, but he was just catching the ball and
Palmer likes
Palmer
to throw.
likes him, and then also even last year he was helping Campbell out huge before Campbell got hurt there. So Marcel Reese is a talent, and that's the one I would go after because Taiwan Jones has been there and he hasn't really showed a whole lot. That's why Goodson's been kind of the feature back when Darren McFadden isn't in. So if neither one of those two are going to play, which obviously you're not going to know tonight probably, so you probably won't know tomorrow either, so it's going to kind of be
Yeah.
up in the air. But if you can get Marcel Reese, I think they're going to keep using him, so he's not a bad guy to try to pick up anyways.
Yeah, I may have to change my pickups. My number 2 is Jordy Nilsson, also with an ankle injury, which is a new injury. It's not the hamstring that's kept him out, but they do have the bye, so...
It's good that that slows down the Packers. Like they're still just tearing people apart without their
Oh,
2
Cobb?
main receivers.
Yeah, Cobb.
Cobb's the main guy on any other team. Like he's a well. That's the thing is James Jones is
James Jones
he's
had
got
a good game,
I think
too.
he's tied for the most touchdowns. Or
Yeah, which he's
Yeah,
just sitting
he's
on my
insane.
bench, and it's like I think I got.
You gotta play him
I gotta
from
start
here
playing
on.
him. He's in my flex every week going forward, hands
Yeah.
down. There's no way I have him just sitting there racking up points from my bench, which maybe that's why I've been losing. Antonio Brown also has an ankle sprain. Should play next week. It's a Monday night game, so you definitely want to pay attention to it because if he's not playing, you want someone to play there instead.
basically, if you see a Q, don't even figure out something to play someone over him. But if he's probable, he'll play. I would say.
It was initially looked like a high ankle sprain, which those are really, that's what McFadden has. Those are the ones that keep you out anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. Now it looks like it's not. It's just a regular ankle sprain. So, and then also Chris Rainey injured his ribs. So the running back situation in the Steelers.
And that's the
Pittsburgh.
thing is, in Pittsburgh, they're just insane there.
Crazy.
Because Redmond looked good this last week, and then now people are starting to get healthy. Dwyer and Mendenhall could be back next week. And what do you do? Because it's like Redmond's the only one who hasn't had a
And
huge game.
He looked okay,
Mendenhall?
Redmond.
Oh, Redmond. Yeah, Redmond.
He's had a few decent runs that I was like, where was this earlier when I really wanted to?
Yeah, when
play
you
here?
had the starting job in the beginning of the season, it's just insane to me that it took this long for him to figure it out.
And so that's one that you definitely want to keep an eye on and see. Number 4 is Percy Harvin.
What's wrong with
Also
him?
An ankle injury.
Oh, that's crazy.
He was on crutches this morning at practice, our team meeting, whatever they have on Monday. But he hasn't been ruled out of the game yet, so we'll kind of have to see on Percy Harvin. And then RG3 has sore ribs, but shouldn't miss any time. So there's a lot of other injuries. This bruises, I really could do a whole segment on just injuries. But
Yeah, there's so many.
I try
all
to
the
go
time.
with just the new ones. And then Thursdays do some important updates because there's also Sproles tonight.
Yeah.
Most people at this point would hopefully
He's out for
know,
at least a few weeks.
because he's not playing tonight.
and we tweeted and Facebook that out, so hopefully people saw it. That he isn't playing.
So there we go.
All right. So moving on to the surprises and disappointments. The number one surprise of the week we've already talked about a little bit was one of those rookies, and it's Andrew Luck, who he went up against the Dolphins this week and he just killed it. Like we talked about, he had 433 yards. He scored 2 touchdowns, and basically on a week when a lot of people, including myself, were down on him. Like Dolphins defense looked like it was taking steps to improve the defensive backfield, and it didn't work in this game. Because he took what he wanted. Like he just came out there and he destroyed them. And the thing is with how well he's been playing and how the Colts have stepped up, and then Pagano giving a speech after the game.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is
I didn't even talk about
I'm sitting
that
there. Me and
today.
Eric are watching the game. It's on at halftime. We're not looking at each other. We're both like doing the. Oh, that wasn't that intense. We're rubbing our eyes and stuff. He's all like this huge speech. I think they're in the playoffs come January.
I think so too.
Like they've looked great. And Andrew Luck is fearless. Like he is insane.
After finishing, the season in the worst spot that you can be in,
Mhm.
and to get Andrew Luck and then bounce back like this, which I don't understand. They had Painter last year. What more do they want? I don't even know why they drafted Luck.
Yeah, Painter is pretty solid. But yeah, I don't know. Andrew Luck has just been great, and I don't see even in his bad games, he's been there and he's made plays. So I think he's awesome, and I think like I said, I think they're going to be in the playoffs. And my number 2 surprise of the week is the Lions running game, because they're obviously known for being
Yeah,
a
that was
passing
crazy.
game. I haven't seen them run like they did in this last game since Barry Sanders was there. Like they did awesome. And Mikel Shore got 3 rushing touchdowns. He only had 70 yards, but 3 rushing touchdowns. And
Here's
then
another one I told people to play.
yeah, and
saying, you
I
gotta-
played him in place of Sproles, and it
I knew
really
he was
worked
going to
out
have that
for
kind
me.
of a game too. I knew it.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
looked great. And then Joik, is it just Joik? Such a
Joiqui?
Joqui?
Joiqui?
Joqui. Joqui Bell
Maybe.
had 73 yards and yet another rushing touchdown. So they had 4 rushing touchdowns in the game.
Kevin Smith
And-
is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, which is sad, but
I'd put him on my football team if I owned one.
yeah, but these 2 guys looked good.
I
and
don't. Someday. No, never. Not any day.
But yeah, they looked awesome running the ball. And then the thing is all of a sudden they're running the ball, and then what does that produce? 129 yards receiving for Calvin Johnson.
Nice.
And that is the thing, is you have to be able to run the ball to take the pressure off Johnson and Stafford. You saw in this game, it helped. It opened up the passing lanes. Stafford didn't have to throw any passing touchdowns, so he wasn't a huge fantasy performer. But it definitely bodes well for them going forward, especially if they're going to try to get back into the playoff hunt.
And they need to.
Yeah, they do. There's just too much talent on that team for them not to.
I know.
And the defense has played a lot better. So, yeah, Lions all around were surprised of the week. I thought they were going to win the game, but I didn't think they were going to win it in the fashion that they did. Like they weren't finesse. They were out there hitting guys and they were pounding the ball, and I like to see it.
I thought they were going to look like this all year, so that's where I'm really surprised. And I think maybe it just took a little bit for the running game to get going with LaShore, and I still like Smith, but
Yeah, and Bell, they like those 2 guys.
Yeah, they
For whatever
do.
reason, they don't love Smith.
they hate him.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did.
Yeah, who knows?
Never met the guy.
But
Anyway, keep-
the third surprise of the week is Chris Johnson, who had huge test against a great Bears defense on Sunday, and I think it's safe to say he passed the test. Like, he came out and he had 141 yards rushing and a touchdown, and 80 of those were on a huge rush play that he made, but that counts for your fantasy points. And he's come out and he's came back to life. He's had 11 points in all of his last 4 games, or he's had over 11 points in all of his last 4 games. And I honestly think it's safe to say, after all the shit we gave him, and I think everyone gave him at the beginning of the season, I think it's safe to say Chris Johnson is back. Like, he has been good. And it's one of those things, if you ever want to ask us this question, if one of your guys is struggling, say, hey, has Lane dropped this guy within the last 2 weeks? If Lane has dropped him, then he will bounce back.
And
it's been proven.
Lane dropped him.
Every single year. The first year it was Dwayne Bowe, all of a sudden exploded after Lane dropped him. Who was it last year?
I can't remember.
Oh, last year, I think he wanted to get Sproles, and I was like, really, Sproles? So basically, every time Lane's listened to my advice, he's done bad. But
well, Chris Johnson, like we said, it'd take more than one game, and he's had more than one game, and so I'm finally starting to feel like you can actually play him now. And
he looks like he's out there working, is the thing.
I think
now.
he just got sad. I feel bad.
Sad.
No, I do. I feel like everyone just got so down on him. He just couldn't take it. It was just. Can you imagine if every week we went and looked and we Googled our podcast and they were always like, turns out Fantasy Top 5 still sucks.
It's like they really need to step their game up. All that money they've been paying Lane, they need to be getting their money worth.
And just every week we go and read that, and every time we come in here and we're like, hey, it's Fantasy Top 5 and we still suck. But then all of a sudden we have one really good podcast. We just kill every joke.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden our spark starts coming back again. That's Chris Johnson.
You took this really weird approach to ending that story. You're like, I'm not building up, and I'm like, this is not turning into a 20-minute thing. I'm just gonna relax. And you're like, and that's Chris Johnson. All right, but my fourth surprise of the week is a guy that I'm not really surprised in per se, but I think it's safe to say Brandon Marshall is happy in Chicago. Like,
that's very true.
He has been incredible
Chris
this
Johnson
season.
was sad. Brandon Marshall is happy.
Yeah, indeed. And he had 122 yards on 9 catches, and 3 of those catches were touchdowns. And he's been awesome there. After this, unless something crazy happens in this Monday night game, he'll be the number 1 fantasy wide receiver going into the second half of the season.
Which we both knew.
Yeah.
You bet on him.
Yeah, I bet that he has.
You bet solid cash.
Yeah, solid cash. It wasn't liquid cash. It was
$5?
solid cash. Yeah. I went all out. But yeah, he has been incredible. And
10 grand, right? That's
10 grand.
Down?
10 large. That's all I get down. But yeah,
it was $5.
I think Cutler is loving it. Cutler's loving having him there, and
the defense is apparently loving it or something.
Oh my gosh, their defense! Their defense can't go in a surprise because it's not surprising, but it kind of
that performance was a little bit. Tillman should honestly be.
He got
there.
4 forced fumbles.
Yeah,
he's insane. But that's the thing is
I'd put him on my NFL team as well if I owned one.
Yeah, it's insane.
Luckily, I play fantasy, so if we don't have a defensive player, damn it.
Yeah, it would be crazy if we did, because he's been solid this year.
That's true.
All right, but we're gonna move to 5, and 5 is kind of a large surprise, and it's kind of a 2-person surprise. It's a Doug Martin / Adrian Peterson surprise of the week, and it's a 2 of a kind, because not since Adrian Peterson have we seen a guy who's been, and Adrian Peterson's still in the league, so it's not like it's been that long, but Doug Martin, it just reminds me of Adrian Peterson.
He does.
And like we've talked about, he came out, he ran for, everyone saw what he did last week in his breakout game, and he comes back in back-to-back games. He's awesome, has over 200 total yards in 2 games in a row. In this game especially, 251 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns. 3 of them were over 40 yards, which, like Eric was saying earlier, is a record. And he really looks like a Peterson-Emmitt Smith hybrid to me. Because he's so damn small. Adrian Peterson isn't the smallest guy in the world, but Doug Martin's just tiny, but he just and to knock people on their ass. He
has a new
insane.
Nickname, apparently. We just found out.
Oh my gosh. I'm not even going to say it. You have to say it.
It's awful. There's no way he enjoys it.
Pull it out.
Hold on. What was
Wasn't
it
it?
again?
It was Muscle Hamster,
Muscle Hamster.
which I don't even understand how that's a nickname. Who comes up with that? Muscle Hamster,
I don't know. The
Yeah.
Muscle Hamster.
which is insane to me. But I got to hit the other end of this, which is Adrian
awful.
Peterson also.
Oh, apparently he hates
Uh-huh.
it.
Well, yeah, that's the dumbest nickname ever. Why would you like it? Like, it's Muscle Hamster.
Doug Martin hates his new nickname, Muscle Hamster.
Yeah, it's because it's ridiculous.
What do you think Doug Martin's new name should be? Not
Alright.
that.
I'm going to move over to my other half, which was Adrian Peterson, who came back strong this year, to say the least, after that season-ending injury he had last year. And again, he came out and he he had 182 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he ran all over one of the best running defenses in the league in Seattle. And I think it's safe to say that those two are both in the top 5 at the end of the season. Like, barring injury, I think they'll both be up there. Like, they've been insane.
Well, that was the thing that was so crazy is Adrian Peterson he had, within 45 seconds of the game, already had 15 fantasy points. And I was like, holy cow. And then another first quarter in, he was up to almost, I think he was at 20. And I was like, no way. I mean, he's going to have the lead fantasy points this week. And then I'm like, Doug Martin's trying. Doug Martin
Doug Martin.
Doug Martin just beat him. Doug Martin is destroying him.
Yeah.
All right, well, Doug Martin's got it.
Yeah, but Doug Martin was
he still ended up with
insane.
33 fantasy points.
Yeah, but that
33,
Yeah, 31.
31.
And that's the thing is, it's been awesome because if you don't like Adrian Peterson, you are sorry. I just got like you are just. You have an issue with yourself, or you're a Packers, Bears, or Lions fan, because if they're in the same division. But other than that, there's no. He's a great guy.
Just the fact he came back.
You see the
this-
work ethic. Like he came back quicker than anyone has ever come back from that kind of injury, and then he's up there. And that's
He
the
was
thing
the
is,
Hulk for Halloween.
yeah, and he is a ripped dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that
didn't have
dude
to
is
paint on the
insane.
muscles like I do.
You paint on the muscles. All right, but now we're gonna move from that. We're gonna move over to the 5 disappointments of the week, and the number one is another rookie, and it's kind of sad, but it's RG3, who had his second game in a row with less than 15 fantasy points, and it's one of those things that coming into the week, I think everyone thought the Panthers and the Redskins, RG3 against Cam Newton is going to be a shootout, and it just wasn't. The Panthers defense came to play, and like we said earlier, they were hitting him, and they were getting him every single play. Like, and he had no touchdowns. He did have 215 yards passing and 53 yards rushing, but like I said, no touchdowns. And it's one of those things that's like, you have to wonder, does the NFL, are they starting to figure out RG3? Where the Panthers, did they have an advantage because he's so similar to Cam Newton? Like, because if you think about it, Cam Newton was the same way last year. At the second half of the season, his performance went way down. He was still getting those rushing touchdowns, and so it looked like he did really well, but people had figured him out. I don't think it's the case with RG3. I think RG3 is a different kind of talent than Cam Newton is. I think they're similar in ways, but I think RG3 is a better quarterback. But this is kind of scary for RG3 owners because he has been disappointing the last 2 weeks,
Yeah,
and it's hard to
it's-
say what he's going to do going forward.
I was so excited for that game. I thought it was just going to be Cam Newton versus RG3. It's going to be just a shootout, and which one was? And then RG3 just looked awful, and Cam Newton looked great. And so it's like, oh,
Yeah, and it was a fun game
All
if you're
right.
into defenses hitting RG3. But other than that, like, it was kind of just like, eh. But it was good. Cam Newton played an okay game. Like, it wasn't great by any means, but he threw a touchdown to Steve Smith, which helped Steve Smith out because he hadn't had a touchdown all season, and he ran one
yeah,
in.
finally. And then he ran one in, which was really
He got
nice.
over 20 points. Like, he looked good. He got
Yeah,
over
he
20
did.
points, didn't he? Yeah, and then he looked better, but yeah, RG3 looked scary, but I would assume he'll bounce back. And then let's see. My second disappointment of the week is Eli Manning, who was starting to look.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, he's starting to revert back, and he's starting to just look like Peyton Manning's younger brother again. Like, he's been awful. He's had less than 10 fantasy points in his second game in a row, And in the last 2 games combined, he's thrown for 317 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. And it's kind of that spot now where
Weird.
everyone a couple weeks ago was like, are the Giants the best team in the NFL? And that's the thing is they look like they could be if it wasn't for Eli Manning not getting the job done. And because their defense has looked insane. Their running game has been good enough. It hasn't been always great, but they've had their crazy good games. And that's the thing is Eli just needs to step up. Like I don't know what his deal is.
Man, they lost, which was crazy as well. That was one of those that you think that Eli would come back and win it for him. And
Especially like Antonio Brown went out with
Yeah.
injury. They're all
Rainey
banged up
went out.
on in running backs, and then
Their
they came out and they
defense
just
even,
did awesome.
with Polamalu and everyone else out. Eli Manning did have a really funny picture on the internet, though.
Yeah, of him just like what?
It's just the weirdest looking picture, and then they turned it into a cat. So there's always
Yeah.
that. So at least Eli's got that going for him.
Yeah, he went viral, but he just didn't play well in that game. All right, and then my my third disappointment of the week is Christian Ponder, who had another bad game against the Seahawks on Sunday. And Ponder has had less than 25 fantasy points in his last 3 games combined. And that's the thing is right now the Vikings are kind of in the same spot as the Giants, not in the same spot like record-wise or anything, but their defense looks pretty good. And their running back is, like we were just saying, looks amazing with Adrian Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
So all they really need to get going is some solid quarterback play, and Ponder's just not giving that to him. And that's the thing is, if he doesn't step it up soon, they can kiss their potential playoff run goodbye. Like they were at the top of that division a few weeks ago, and now they're below the Packers, and the
crazy.
Packers they're both below the Bears. So I don't know if they're going to be able to come back in. So, yeah, that Ponder's basically he's been a disappointment for a few weeks now. But I think now it's time that if you were using him as one of those guys to fill, like if you had a quarterback that got hurt or if you had a guy on a bye, I'd maybe look somewhere else this
I would
week.
too.
Because, yeah, he's been bad.
He has not been good to play.
Yeah. And then my fourth disappointment of the week is Hakeem Nicks, who after his week 2 performance where he got 25 points, it looked like, all right, Hakeem Nicks is coming back from injury. He's going to have a huge year. And then he really hasn't done anything since. Like, he's been completely terrible. And now that he looks like he's about 100, he looks as healthy as he's looked all season, really. And he has 1 catch for 10 yards on Sunday. And that's the thing is the Steelers have been taking away the main guy of, like, so they took away A.J. Green 2 weeks ago, and they took away Nicks in this game. But I dare say that Cruz is their main guy in a lot of ways there now.
Anymore.
And he's their scary guy. Nicks will jump up and catch it over anyone, but he's usually a 20-yard to shorter kind of guy, more of a possession guy. And Cruz is the guy that'll burn you for a big touchdown. But Nicks has just been bad. And
I don't even know what to do with him. Bench him, I guess.
yeah, it's hard to say because that's the thing is, once you bench him, he comes out and has that. He can come out and have that huge game. So it's really hard to say what to do.
I feel like that's the same way with my other wide receiver I have later
Yeah.
in my put downs.
All right, and then my fifth disappointment of the week is Ryan Matthews, who had another game under 100 yards. And that's the thing is, I never thought I'd say this, but I don't think it's Matthews' fault. Like right now, it looks like the Chargers are wanting to use Ronnie Brown on all their passing downs. Which when you get behind, all your downs are passing downs.
Mhm.
So
they throw Jackie Battle in every once in a while.
yeah, and Jackie Battle's getting all the short work at the
Yeah.
goal line. So that right
All the
there is
1-yard
taking
runs.
it's taken away a lot of work from Matthews, and it's kind of turning him into a guy who has a ton of potential to a guy who's super unpredictable. It's one of those things that you got to hope the Chargers decide to lean on him more because Ronnie Brown is definitely not going to turn into their main feature guy like I wouldn't say. And Jackie Battle
Yeah, he won't.
has potential to do just what he's doing, which is those 4th and 1, let's use Jackie Battle, goal line, let's use Jackie Battle. But other than that, he doesn't have a lot of potential.
Mhm.
So I think you have to use Ryan Matthews more, and hopefully they do because if not, he's just going to kill fantasy teams.
I agree. Because he does have the potential to be extremely good, and he just is not.
Yeah, he really.
He had
It's
one
been
good
rough.
game there.
because he's been healthy now for weeks. So it's really just he needs to be getting the ball more.
Crazy. All right. Well, we'll move over to the pickups, put downs, and watchovers. Pickups are who you should use a waiver wire pick to pick up. Put downs are the people that we're down on. We'll let you know whether you should drop them, trade them, or bench them. And watchovers are guys you should keep an eye on, but maybe don't pick them up quite yet. I'll try to breeze through this since we only have 20 minutes. So my number one pickup is Carson Palmer. He's 48% owned and has just been really, really good. He's looked really consistent every single week. And really just has been a quarterback you can use with all the people like Ponder, who we thought was usable, and all the people like Whedon, who we thought would be an actual fantasy player, who have just kind of dropped off the map. Carson Palmer has stayed there. He is averaging 21 points over the last 4 weeks and is the 6th quarterback in fantasy points. So it's looking where you can actually trust him. He loves to throw the ball.
Yeah, and McFadden has underplayed this season, to say the least. And then now with his injury, like he showed, like maybe his injury, like sad to say, is maybe what they needed, because he came out and he's the number one fantasy quarterback going into the Monday night game. And so if something crazy doesn't happen there, he's going to be the number one this week. And it's one of those things. Carson Palmer's a guy that not a lot of people had a ton of faith in. And there's reasons why. Like, he never can play up to the moment, but he can get you stats going into it.
Throw the pick to lose the game
twice in a row, like at the end of that game. And that's the thing, is they were right back in it against Tampa Bay yesterday. And then he can't step up to the moment, and that's his biggest issue. But still, they're passing it like crazy. They have a lot of talent. They have tons of big play potential there. And I think at this point, we've been kind of beating around the bush saying, well, Palmer's been good. I think at this point, if you don't pick him up, you're just hurting your fantasy team, really.
Yeah. And he's been a person you can pick up for the last few weeks now, and so I'd finally say you can do it. My pickups are actually all Raiders guys, so hopefully this works out. My number 2, I had Tywan Jones, just because I heard he's going to be the starter. He's 2% owned, but Marcel Reese,
well, he's still the fullback, so
yeah. But Tywan Jones will get the start, but and with McFadden and Goodson out, they're going to need someone. Pretty much from what I've read is Marcel Reese will continue to get a lot of passes. So in a PPR, I would say he's definitely ownable, and Tywan Jones will be the starter. So he's also maybe someone you can play as well. My number 3 is T.Y. Hilton. It's 5% owned. Luck loves him. And not only that, but apparently Reggie Wayne is also taking him underneath his wing and just mentoring him, letting him know all the things that he should be doing, the routes to run, and just really just kind of laying all of his veteran knowledge onto T.Y. Hilton. And he's looked good for a rookie. He's another one of those rookies that hasn't really broken out, but has looked really good this year. So if you need someone this week, I think you could probably play him in a flex if Luck has another good game.
And I like T.Y. I like all the receivers there because of how much they're passing it.
And Avery looks like he may be injured, so if Avery's out, that makes T.Y. Hilton an even better play. My number 4 is Brandon Myers, 19% owned, which Sean actually talked about on Sunday, saying that he's a tight end that you may be able to play. Tight end has never been another one that all these guys that you pick him up and you're like, oh, he's finally doing good, and then he hasn't. And it's been a weird situation with tight end. So if you need someone, Brandon Myers looks like a guy I would definitely.
And he's finally getting, like, he hadn't had a touchdown going into the game, and he had 2 in that game. And I think Carson Palmer is getting more and more comfortable with him. And yeah, he's only 19% owned, and he's been. It's one of those things as a tight end. Tight ends are hard because if they don't get a touchdown, they always are the shorter in between guys, so they end up with
That's why Gronk gets so many points, because he gets so many touchdowns.
And that's the thing is, in PPR leagues, tight ends are good because they usually a lot of times they'll get 5 or 6 catches a game, but it'll only be like for like 45 yards. They don't usually have that big a play unless they're like special guy like Gronk or Gonzalez or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree with Eric there. Brandon, I'm a Raiders fan, so I've watched him a lot, and he looks like a guy that could help the Raiders forget about getting rid of Zach Miller, which is about time. Because
he was so good. I don't know why they got rid of him.
And he's actually kind of coming back in Seattle.
He's in Seattle now. Number 5 is Denver defense with 55% owned. still looking really good. I told people not to play him against the Saints. They still made Drew Brees look awful.
Yeah.
And they're still every week just right there. I think Denver's defense will be one you can pick up like the 49ers last year and just continue to play them every week. And next year they'll be one of the top defenses. I'm throwing it out there right now because that's how the 49ers were. I got lucky, picked them up, and they just continued to have good games. And then this year they were one of the top fantasy
Yeah, and they
defenses.
definitely, if nothing else, they're worth taking a shot on just because of the fact they have so much talent on that
Von
team.
Miller,
Yeah, and they
absolutely insane.
Yeah, and they have like Champ Bailey, and
Bailey.
they can get to the basically they can get to the quarterback, and then if the quarterback throws a bad pass, they're gonna capitalize on it
Yeah, they're really good.
because they've played two good offensive teams 2 weeks in a row, and they've
Yep.
done good in both. So yeah, I have to agree with you on that one.
Okay, my put downs really quick. Joe Flacco, 73% owned. He's averaging 10 points over the last 4 weeks. I would say either drop him or only play him when he has a home game, which is next week against the Raiders. So you can play him next week. But then the week after that, when they play the Steelers on the road, go ahead and drop him.
Yeah, that I have to agree with you there. He's so good at home and so bad
10 points
away
over
from
the last
home.
4 weeks. My number 2 is Jamal Charles at 99% owned. Don't drop him. I would just bench him, but the Kansas City's so bad that it's another one that's not his fault. It's not Jamal Charles' fault.
And that's
They're
another.
just a
That's the
bad-
exact same thing as the Chargers.
Bad
They're
team.
using McCluster a lot. They're using Hillis a lot, and they also were using who's their fourth guy? I can't remember their fourth guy's name, but Hillis makes sense. McCluster's a talent, but he's the same exact kind of guy
Yeah.
as Jamal Charles, but worse. So he shouldn't take away from Charles.
And he's
So
not that feature back that Jamal Charles is. So just bench him, maybe trade him. You might be able to get something good for him. He's still really, I mean, he has a big name, and Kansas City just doesn't look very good. Number 3 is Des Bryant, which I talked about as well.
yeah, another hard guy to get rid of.
Another one that's hard to get rid of because he could have that breakout game, but he's just been a huge letdown. Although I did win this week because he did so bad because Lane had him. But I would still maybe try to trade him. I think you could probably get something for him. He's 95% owned. Someone will want him. Number 4 is Jermichael Finley at 85% owned. I've talked about him over and over again, and he's just
Yeah, get rid of
he tried
that
to get
guy.
it back, and he just has not. I would just drop him and pick up someone else. There's a lot of guys out there. Jermaine Gresham's another one who looked really, really good. Brandon Myers looks really good. And my number 5 is Pittsburgh's defense, which we also talked about before. 71% owned. And even with the Giants not looking great, still did not have a very good fantasy day. So my watchovers we'll go through really quick. RT1, Ryan Tannehill. I still love that. 5% owned.
And
He's
he
looked
was
good. And has a
he
good
was
matchup
hurt.
next week.
Yeah, and he was hurt against the Colts, and he still came out and he put. And they're not a great defense, but he
Mhm.
played very well against them. So I picked him up to fill in for Tom Brady, and he did better than I thought he was going to do. So
Yeah.
I have to agree with you on that one.
And next week he has a good matchup, so you should be able to play him. My number 2, I went with Isaac Redmond. Keep an eye on him. He hasn't looked great, but I put a new Steelers running back in my watchovers every week, so I had to keep going with it. So, and with Rainey injured, Mendenhall probably will be limited if he even plays, and Dwyer may be out. The whole situation's crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to say what's happening there at all.
My number 3 is Brian Hartline, who's 57% owned. He fell off the map after having a really good start to the year. Like Sean said, everyone just kind of, well, Sean said it to me yesterday,
Yeah.
not on the podcast, but everyone just kind of forgot about him.
That's the thing is he had 10 points yesterday. Like
Yeah.
he didn't do
That's what I'm saying.
awful.
Keep an eye on him. I picked him up and then dropped him again, but these are all keep an eye on. None of these are pickups, only if you need them.
Yeah, if he has another week, maybe pick him up, or maybe get him on your bench. I don't know. I wouldn't drop him though if you have him,
Yeah.
or anything like that.
I needed someone, so I had to. But my number 4 is Joel Dreesen at 23% owned. I was really high on Tammy coming into the year, and it looks like he's the better tight end than Jacob Tammy, which is weird because I loved the guy. But I wouldn't pick him up yet because they're actually splitting complete even reps. They both got 4 attempts on Sunday.
Yeah,
But
and
Dreesen's
Dreesen.
doing more with them.
Yeah, and also if you remember last year, Dreesen wasn't bad with
Yeah.
with even with Owen Daniels being obviously their main guy there, and everyone knows now after the year he's having this year, Owen Daniels is a great tight end, and Dreesen was still getting his work. I think there was a couple games that that Daniels missed last year, and he was able to step up and he played great. So.
And if they didn't have such both, because Tammy's really good as well, so they have two tight ends that could potentially be.
And they also brought
Neither
Tammy
of them-
over specifically to help Peyton Manning
Yeah.
out. So it is crazy that he's not doing better than he is.
Yeah, and they're both getting the exact same reps. And Joel Dreesen is tied for the fourth most touchdowns by tight ends this year. I think Gronk's number 1.
And that's
I don't know,
crazy.
2 or 3, but he has the fourth most. So definitely keep an eye and maybe pick him up if you need him. He's at least getting the touchdowns, and he's looking better than Tammy. And maybe they might start using him more. And my number 5 is San Diego's defense at 52% owned. And Sean actually talked about him. They're actually a really good defense.
Yeah, they're
It's
they're
weird.
very good. The thing is they're a good defense, but it's one of those things that a defense can't carry your team, and that's kind of what they've needed to do with how, like, their whole offense is kind of underperformed at this point. So it's like, but they looked great against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs, like, I think me and Eric are still sticking to it. If someone's playing the Chiefs, pick up their defense, but I still think they have the best safety in the league in Weddle. Like, and I know, like, Reed, don't get offended. Pomo, don't get offended. You guys are old as shit. You're both injury prone. Weddle is going to be there for a while now, and Weddle looks insane. And in there, they were number 2 in stopping the run, and they obviously showed that. None of those guys got very many yards rushing. So it's just statistics. Like, they are doing very
Eric
well.
Weddle is one of my favorite.
Their problem is not
defensive players.
defense;
He's
it's
from Utah.
offense.
And yeah, if you look at it the last 4 weeks, San Diego's right below Denver with averaging 11 fantasy points. And over the season, they're actually averaging more than Denver with 10, so double-digit fantasy points. So both of those defenses are in the top 5 as far as fantasy points, so average fantasy points. So definitely, if you've been doing like the Vikings and picking up all these different ones, I think those two defenses are quite solid. So
And that's the thing is, every defense is going to have a few games where they play bad. Like,
same with tight ends.
and it's one of those things. Those are one of
with
the
most players.
like Chicago is not, but they will eventually. They have to play the Packers again. They have to play the Lions again. Have they played the Lions yet? They play the Lions twice. They have some offenses they're going up against that could put together some good games against them. So
And if you have the
you'll see
Vikings-
that every defense will have its bad games.
If you have the Vikings defense, I probably should have won him. You can drop them. They have the hardest schedule coming up.
Oh yeah, they're
They play
done.
the Packers twice. They play
The Lions.
the Lions twice.
I think they play 5 division games, and the whole division's tough.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
and there's only 8 games left for them, I think. So yeah, I wouldn't.
same with Ponder as well.
Yeah.
I maybe should Ponder there, but yeah. So we'll go ahead with the.
All right, we're just going to
Final
move over
segment.
to our true or false, and that's basically the statements, and you decide if they're true or false, and we'll kind of try to decide if they're true or false as well.
We put them up on our website. You can
Yeah.
go vote on if the polls work.
Yeah, we had a little bit of issues with the polls last week, but I kind of looked, and then I kind of got a fill on it, and
kinda
so
depressing.
so I'm going to go off of what.
So if you went and voted and it looked like it was 0, it really wasn't. Our polls were having issues
Yeah.
because we actually did have quite a few people vote on them.
Yeah, and I'll hurry and update everyone on the results of last week's from what we could tell, which is and I'm just going to say if people voted true or false more. Josh Freeman will finish the season as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. That true, basically everyone voted true. Like, he's looked awesome. And then we got a few votes last night on that, which were all true after his performance yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Another almost 20-point game.
Yeah, and then the second one was Calvin Johnson will finish the season outside the top 10 in fantasy receivers. That one was mostly true, but then I think he got a few more falses. Like, it's one of those things that you want to have faith in him, but it's going to be hard for him to bounce back and get within the top 10, especially with how many good receivers there are out there. So yeah, his was true. And then the Buccaneers will make the playoffs was actually voted false more than true, because they're the NFC's, like we've talked about, the dominant division, but they are looking better now. So I think if we would have done the question this week, it would have been true, but that one was false. And then the Broncos will win the AFC West was true, and then the Ravens will win the AFC North was true.
I put true on all of them.
Yeah. I basically did too. I was the Buccaneers one was the one I was most shaky on though,
Yeah,
because
just because it's so
it's going to be tough for them to come back. All right, and then the ones we have for this week are, we've kind of talked about them all, so we'll just hit them really quick to finish out the podcast. And then, like we said, jump over to our website and vote on all these, because yeah, we want to see what you have to say.
We want you to
And
be a part of our podcast. Also, ask us
Yeah.
fantasy questions. On Monday we don't, but on Thursdays we talk about some of the fantasy questions we answered throughout the week.
yeah,
And, if you,
and also if we get really good questions that are pressing for the Monday night game, we will hit them on there.
yeah.
So
and
yeah, send us
we'll
questions
even go a little
whenever.
bit later just to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Same with the chat. Hop in the chat and do that as
Yeah.
well.
All right, and then our first true or false for this week is Brandon Marshall will finish the season as the #1 fantasy receiver. True or false? What do you think, Eric?
I'm gonna say true. Calvin Johnson doesn't have it, and he's nowhere close.
Yeah, I think Victor Cruz, Roddy White,
Victor
AJ
Cruz,
Green are all in that.
AJ Green's close.
But I agree
Roddy
with you.
White's
I think
close.
Brandon Marshall, the amount of attention he is getting from Jay Cutler alone, I think it's true. What do you think, Lane?
I have no idea, so I'll just go with you guys.
All
true.
right,
Oh,
true.
so true, you guys.
Oh yeah, good point.
There's no way he's not getting it.
All right, and then let's
You also
see.
went true.
Yeah, I also went true. And then the second one is Adrian Peterson will finish the season as the #1 fantasy running back. And I'm going true on this one because, like I said, I think he's that whole team again. I think he thought at the beginning of the season he wasn't,
Mhm.
and he's right back to being the only consistent thing there. And the Seahawks defense is incredible, and he did as well as he did yesterday against them. So I think it's definitely a true.
That's true. And all the other running backs, Ray Rice, Arian Foster. I may go Arian Foster
Mm-hmm.
and say false.
You're going false?
But I don't think Doug Martin has done enough to prove to me he's going to continue to keep doing that. I'm going to go false and go with Arian Foster, though.
All right, what do you think, Lane?
I think I have to go true too as well. Wasn't he's just always up there? He's always
Yeah.
like the first pick every
Yep.
season on fantasy. So I'll go.
Except
stick with
this year
true.
because of the injury and anyone who.
Yeah.
And everyone
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
picked him first or second this year, even with the injury.
Yeah. All right, and then
Ridiculous.
the third one is Andrew Luck will win the Rookie of the Year award. And basically a couple things we already talked about. Colts are 5-3 and would be in the playoffs if the season ended today. He has 2,404 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and 3 rushing touchdowns. And I am going to say true, just a little thing to go along with this. RG3 is not winning the games there, and I think that's a big part of it. So I honestly think it's going to come down to Andrew Luck and Doug Martin, if Doug Martin can keep his team up. But I think you have to take that in consideration more than anything.
You do, and a lot of
If-
times it doesn't happen
Uh-huh.
that way, but that's because nobody else did the same performance and won. And Andrew Luck is doing as good as RG3 and winning games. So most of the time that doesn't come into account as much. I mean, with the Carolina last year, Cam Newton didn't win a lot of
Yeah.
games, but he looked really good.
Well, never has there been this many rookies starting either, especially
That's
at quarterback.
true.
And that's the thing is, I think quarterback is who they like to give it to anyway. It's like they kind of have an edge. And with the guys there, yeah, I think
I'm going to go true.
I think Andrew Luck will get it if he gets him to the playoffs. What do you think, Lane?
Yeah, I'm true on there as well.
Alrighty. And then the fourth one is Doug Martin will win the Rookie of the Year award. And I put this on there as kind of a long shot because of how well he's done. And that's the thing is, if the Buccaneers make it to the playoffs and he ends up having 1,500 rushing yards and 500 or more receiving yards, I think he has to be taken into consideration.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to go with false because, like I said, I think Andrew Luck is going to get it because
Yeah.
I think he's going to get him to the playoffs. But I had to
False
put
as
it
well.
on there.
Quarterback always wins this one.
Yeah. All right, Eric's going false. What do you think, Lane?
Yeah, he'd get running back, but he won't get player.
Alrighty. And then number 5, true or false, is the Chicago Bears will win the NFC North. True or false? I'm going to go true on this. I know a lot of people think the Packers are going to creep back in, but the Bears have got 2 games on them because the Packers have lost 3 and the Bears have only lost 1. However, the Bears have only lost to the Packers, and the Packers have them figured out, but I think they're going to lose 2 games this whole season. I think both are going to be the Packers. I think they're going to end 14-2 2. I think the Packers are going to end 13-3, and I think the Bears are going to win their division. What do you think, Eric? I don't have an opinion on it.
I agree. Bears. Go Bears.
I think I know what Lane thinks, but let's get it, Lane.
My iPod's not starting up fast enough for me to look at numbers here.
Oh.
So, yeah.
You did it. All right, and then it's officially past the end of the podcast. It is 6:31. Like we
So
talked
there
about
it is.
before,
Thank
go
you
to
for
our
listening.
website and vote on all our polls. Send us all
Thanks
your
for-
questions.
Everything.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us. Thanks for everything. Thanks for liking us on Facebook. Thanks for
Tweeting at us.
Thanks for getting in on the messaging during the podcast. We're Fantasy Top 5. I'm Sean.
And I'm Eric.
Peace.
Out. See ya.
Later. Oh, I'm gone.